Hello, my name is Alex. So, as you might have guessed from the title of this video, the goal is to basically get a C++ file and being able to use it from Android when you create the .apk through GameMaker Studio. So, in my case, I basically wanted to create a sort of system for being able to perform all CRUD operations. So, the create, the read and update, and delete operations from a database. And there is something known as SQLite, that is this thing, okay? But the extension I created back in its day was only created for Windows. So for those of you who might not be very familiar with this topic, you can, for example, create C++ code through Microsoft Visual Studio. Okay. So in my case, as you can see, when it wants to load. Okay. So in my case, as you can see, I created back in its day all this code for being able to manage databases from GameMaker. And it's all written in C++. There is no other way to communicate with SQLite because the base files are .c and .h. So basically, as you can see, I created this main C++ code which communicates with the files that are provided by SQLite. Okay, so this sort of worked in Windows, but I came to the problem of not finding any tutorial for GameMaker to convert this in a way that was possible to be used through Android. So what I did actually find, I want to give some credit to that, I found this post back in its day from Mick, that here I will put the link in the description of the video. He sort of explains a method he came up with for being able to generate the files that are needed for Android, and it sort of worked, so that's perfect. And what I'm going to try and show you is how to do it in this video. First of all, it's important to note that this is a little old post from 2017, and there is something in particular that won't work anymore. That is a process he does here for creating the header files in Java. So if we go to the command line, well, obviously my system is Spanish, but more or less you understand what is I'm doing. So there are two things that we will be reading, obviously, are Java, which in my case, as you can see, I have the 18.0.1.1 version. We'll be needing Java, but there is another thing that is used to create like the intermediate files that are used for building for Android, java.c version. As you can see, there I have it, but here comes the issue. You are using the latest version of Java, you won't have Java H. Why is this? This is because this has been discontinued, the support, from Java 8 onwards, from Java 8 onwards, and the only way for being able to follow all these steps from Mick, because we will be needing Java H, is to actually download an older version of Java. You can basically search it on Google, it's very easy, but I'm going to show you in my system where is what I have here set up. So if we go to program files, Java, so as you can see, I have here the 18.0.11 version, and I have here the 1.8.0 version. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch between the Java versions, the JDK, because in this one we actually do have the Java H that we will be needing. I created here a very simple script that I grab some information from the internet, and what this does is basically change the environment variable path from the system. So if you go to system, well, Sistema in Spanish. In advanced preferences of the system, and here I will have a Java. Let me check. Oh, where it is? Oh, yeah, here. You see, and it's pointing currently to the version 19.0.1.1. You have to change this. You can do it either manually, or in my case, I will do it through these commands I have here prepared. Okay. And what this does is basically change the path that is pointing to instead of being this folder, being this other one. Okay, so I'll do it now. Okay, it takes a while. Okay, perfect. So you have to restart the command line for the changes to take effect. And now, if we look at the java.version, you see that has changed. We have the Java Z version, perfect, and the Java H version. And as you can see now, Java H is recognized by the system, which means everything is set up okay. We can now continue the process. Okay, so as I have shown before, I have this C++ code, which is the one I want to convert to for being able to use it on Android. How do you proceed with this? Basically, I've created all these structures of folders, okay? So to make the process a little bit simpler of what Mick suggested here, I just, most of the processes that he tells here of you have to do this or you have to now execute whatever. Well, instead of doing step by step, I created my bat files so I can just click them and it will generate everything. So the first .bat file prepares the build, okay? So basically this, what we will do, it will ask for your Java class and your package ID, and it will create the Java header file that is needed, and it will move it to the .gni folder in this directory. This is needed. Well, it will also check if some folders are created because this I did it on purpose to have this structure, and if they don't exist, it will create the folders. Okay, so when you come here, basically, you will have something like this. As you can see, we go back to the Visual Studio. The main .c++ code is actually this file. So I just literally copied all my C++ code from here to this file here, okay? Then we have the .c and the .h SQLite3, which are these files that are downloaded from the web page of SQLite. And the only additional things that you have to do is to create the Android.mk and the communicator C++. As you can see here, the Android.mk is basically something so that the program understands what it has to include into the generated files. And the communicator C++, what it does is basically from the .header file that we will be generating automatically, you have like to convert those files from the .gni extension of Java, so for being able to communicate between GameMaker and C++. So because Java is a little bit special, you have to use the .gni. You can search for more information on the internet of what actually GNI does actually. So we will, once you have these files ready and you have this .bat file, you can start the process by basically putting here this other file. And as you can see, these files, you have to define a package name, which you can invent, but it has to follow the structure of a common package name for Android, which is the com dot, the company name and the product name. And then you have to define the name of the class, where the name of the class cannot be the same as the final Java class that we will have here. Okay, it has to be different. If not, it will generate errors. So I added a J in front of it because it comes from the gen NI thingy. Okay, so that's why. So here, as you can see, basically, you here define just the functions that you will be using. In my case, with a J in front. So this actually match up the same names that I have in my C++ code, but I added the J in front. Okay. There is something important that you have to take into account, and is that in GameMaker, you can only work with double or with strings when working with extensions. So that's something that you have to take into account. So for example, here, as you can see, well, no, this is the best example. Okay, here, the values can only be a string or double. So this is something that you have to take into account. Okay, this is very important when creating your extension. When we have come to this part and all these things are ready, okay, perfect. We can go back to the folder over here. Oh no, not this one. Sorry, this one. And what we are going to do is we are going to execute this, and it's going to ask me, enter your Java class name. Okay, from the file here, what is my class name? Is this one. There you go. Enter your full package ID. Okay, my full package ID is this one. Perfect. And it says that it has been completed. So let's check that. And here it is. This has been automatically generated. This is something that you must not edit directly. Actually, I think, yeah, here is a comment that tells you not to do it. But it's something that, as you can see, includes the GNIH. And, well, it basically defines all my functions with a special header. So this is the header file that will be used for the communication. Okay, so you have not to touch anything of this. Then, as I showed you before, you will actually create the communicator C++ file. What does the communicator C++ file do? Well, simple enough. You basically take from the header files generated, here it goes, and you tell it what it has to return or whatever it has to do. As you can see here, well, I have my thingies for my function and stuff. Very simple, that's it. You don't have to do anything else. As you can see, the data types are the ones from Java, so you have to take that into account as well. Because at the end, you are working with a mixture of C++ and Java, so that's something to take into account. Once you have all this ready, you have the header file and the communicator C++ file, and you have prepared the android.make file, which is this one. You can continue the process. How will you continue the process? Well, we have this second file, buildExtension.bat. So this one, well, I did a little bit of changing and stuff. This one basically is pointing to my NDK, which is here. Let me show you. So you will, So you will have to download from the internet the Android NDK. And there is something that is called the ndk.build, which is this one. Okay, this will be used to generate our final files needed. Basically, this is a command that you are passing in, which you are telling it to use a C++ static build. Okay, you can download the NDK from the internet, just search it, and it will be very easy to find. Okay, and what we are going to do now is obviously execute this. And as you can see, well, I have some warnings, perfect. But you can see already that it's generating an object folder with the different architectures for Android of my extension. So this is already working. If up to this point you've made any kind of mistake, well, basically this window will be closed and the process won't have been finished. It's taking a little bit long because it's compiling the sqlite.c, which is pretty long. It has lots of things in it. But well, at the end, this finished, you'll have all the files needed for Android with all the architectures. But I'll show you now a little thing that is a kind of problem. Okay, compiling from .86. So the last architecture that is going to be built for Android, it's something that I'm a little bit stuck on, and it's giving some issues. Now I'll explain what's wrong with it. It's the 8664 architecture. Yeah, this last one is giving some issues. Not when building is okay. The problem is when using it from GameMaker. And I sort of found out what the issue is. It's related to the buffer size, but I'm unable to fix it. So probably someone on the internet will be kind enough to actually tell me what might be wrong. I'm guessing that what might be wrong is related to this part at the end of passing pointers to C++, because I've seen from the crash logs that this is an issue. Anyways, it's not really important at the end, because the only architecture that you won't be supporting if you are using buffers at any time is the 8664. So this one won't work properly if you are using buffer and pointers of stuff when communicating with Java. But it's not really important, because at the end, the alternative, there is another of the architectures that basically does the same as the 8664, and this is a not very popular architecture. And I think that in the future, GameMaker will be discontinuing the support for this architecture. Just let me check GameMaker roadmap. Oh, I don't know how to write. Oh, one it's Spanish. Okay, so I think from here, oh, it's the 86, the one that are discontinuing. Okay, but the 32-bit. But the 64, the thing is that it's not a popular architecture for the time being, or at least as I have seen. But yeah, this is the issue that I'm having currently with the extension. Well, the process has finished because the window has closed. And as you can see, I have now this folder and this folder. The object folder, I don't need it, it can be deleted. And the libs folder, basically, as you can see, contains all the architectures. And inside it contains my extension already as a .so extension that is ready for Android. We have to here perform a change. The first change is to change this to lib without the s. Then we have to add it to a zip file like that, and then we have to force the change extension to .jar. Perfect. Now we copy this, or we cut it, and this is the structure that you will normally have on GameMaker, which is Android source. You will have the Java and the libs. And inside the lib, as you can see, I have the lib.jar. I will basically place it here. And there it goes. Now, the last thing that you have to do is the Java part. So one thing that my extension also does, my .bat file does, is that it copies this file to here. Perfect. But now you have to create this other file for basically being able to communicate between the .gni and all the Java and GameMaker stuff. Okay, so basically this is more or less the structure. If you are using, as I said before, pointers, you have to be using this. So normally in GameMaker, when you are working with buffers, you have to basically get the address or the pointer from it and pass it to the extension, and then you can do more complex stuff. The issue with this is that there is like a rule that you cannot basically overpass, which is the extension itself cannot modify neither the size or what is being written cannot exceed the size of the buffer. Because if you do that, your extension will crash. So this is something to take into account. So as you can see here, the functions from Java, what are doing are calling the GNI functions that we created previously, that are these ones. You see? So basically is what it's doing. It's basically passing the arguments and all the stuff. And this function has to be the same one as the one you define in the extension for GameMaker. So as you can see here, I have test extension connect. Well, let's go to a more complex one, sorry. Database open, okay? So in GameMaker, it will be recognized as extension AIO SQLite3 database open, but the external name is without the extension thingy. So as you can see, this one over here has to be this one, and this one is calling that one. And the arguments, you see, are string, string, and double, because these are the only things that we can use in GameMaker. And here I have to pass a buffer. So you can see I'm using that function that we previously defined. And that one, let's check it on the code so you can see the example. This one is in my scripts. Here it is. Okay, so here, as you can see, I'm passing basically the path where is the database located at. I'm passing a buffer, but the buffer is being passed as a string. This is very important because if you try to pass it as a number, there might be some issues in the conversion and you might have some problems. And well, this is only variable that is just telling if it's read-only or not. Okay, so that's basically how you do it. This is your files are ready to be put inside an extension. So basically this folder, the Android source folder, is the one that you will need to copy into GameMaker for your extension to work in Java. In Android. And how do we activate this? Well, when you go to the extension menu, you have here the extra platforms, Android, you have to check it. And then if you right click here and you go to Open Explorer, you have to copy it here. So you see Android source, Java, and libs. I didn't copy the lib.jar changes I did because basically it's the same. I didn't change anything. Can we test this? Yes, we can test it. So I'm going to test it. Well, let me close some stuff so I can get more RAM memory. Okay. I don't need this anymore, and I don't need this anymore. Let's start Android Studio. So from Android Studio, you can have a virtual device. So virtual device manager, and I have this one created, API 28. So as for now, well, this is the test that we were doing previously. Wait. Okay. Perfect. So we will test it here. Oh, okay. So something important when you build for Android, you have to be aware with the minimum SDK version. Normally, the NDK build I'm using, the current version, the minimum SDK supported is 19. So if you try to build for a platform that is under the 19 and they try to execute your anything from your extension, it will crash. So this is something important to take into account. Okay, so let's test this. So you can see it in action. Well, obviously it takes a little bit to build. So basically what this will do now, it will create an empty database, and I should see all the results of the data that has been introduced into the database. And this is obviously using the SQLite extension. Okay, so here we have the extension. It has worked because, as I told you, has created a database, has created a different column names, it has retrieved that information, it has created, so basically it did an insert operation onto the database of random data, and here you have it. And it closed the database handle of the record sets, because basically you gather the information within a record set. And here are some debug messages. So as you can see here, it's everything that has retrieved done and all that stuff. So it's working perfectly. So this is the way you can create an extension from C++ code for Android inside GameMaker.